Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and Captain Marvel— wait, holy crap, there's a new Avengers Endgame trailer! Marvel is not wasting any time with this hype. Captain Marvel and Thor are buds now, Stark is back on Earth, and they got new armor, Hawkeye is hurting. Now, we don't know how much of this footage will actually be in the movie, and much of this is old footage from past MCU moments, but if you pay close attention to the way this is all being presented, there could be some major clues for Endgame. So you know the drill, I'm gonna break it all down, frame by flirkin' frame, for all the microscopic details that you might have missed. And spoiler warning, because basing things on Captain Marvel, my speculation has been weirdly on target lately, so I might ruin lives. Let's get started.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man.
Okay, the trailer opens by flashing back to the scene in the first Iron Man after Tony Stark escaped from the 10 Rings terrorist group in Afghanistan, engineering DIY armor and an arc reactor from a box of scraps! Stark's voiceover says the memory feels like 1,000 years ago, and I imagine it's on his mind because he's in a parallel situation now, stranded on the Guardian ship, the Benatar, forced to engineer a way home with a new box of scraps, which I assume will be his nickname for Nebula. Now in this trailer, notice how all the footage from past Marvel movies is in black and white, with just hints of the color red. The Super Bowl trailer used a similar Schindler's Listy color grading as a way to visually link the fallen Avengers with the Marvel Studios 10 title logo. The monochromatic colors reflect the gray dust, with the color red evoking the blood that was spilt in these deaths. And you may remember dust and blood as imagery that was foreshadowed by Black Panther in Infinity War.
Thanos would have nothing but dust and blood.
And dust to blood is exactly what Thanos wanted. Way to jinx it, T'Challa. Some are also saying the color red could be connected to the Reality Stone, and I don't know why the Reality Stone would be that much more important in this final movie than the other 5 stones, but they're both red. Rumor has it these Endgame trailers are being deliberately withholding, with Marvel head Kevin Feige suggesting that the marketing will only show stuff from the first 15 minutes of the movie, which was last reported to be around 3 hours long, and other reports that the directors, the Russos, have only allowed 8 minutes of footage to be used for promotional purposes, necessitating trailers to tie in footage from old movies. But as we dig deeper into this, we will see how these past memories might contain a hidden meaning that unlocks the truth of this movie's story. So let's keep watching.
Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
Okay, here there's Iron Man's helmet, suggesting Stark's words here are part of his recording to Pepper Potts that we saw in the first trailer. I like how the editing here syncs up this moment with the shot of Pepper holding Stark's helmet in Iron Man 3, because remember in that scene, Pepper similarly worried that Tony was dead, but this helmet contained a hidden voice recording from Tony. Here in Endgame, Tony's doing the exact same thing, maybe in case this helmet ever gets recovered, hoping Pepper will remember that moment in Iron Man 3 and receive this goodbye apology from him. Or maybe since that moment in Iron Man 3 involved Pepper putting on the helmet herself, this could be a signal of how Tony Stark will get rescued. Remember, there were those choice words that Tony used in the first trailer?
Just for the record, being adrift in space with zero promise of rescue is more fun than it sounds.
And some leaked wardrobe images of Gwyneth Paltrow hinted that we could see Pepper donning armor that Tony designed for her for a situation just like this, which would allow Pepper to become her rescue character from the comics and potentially come save Tony. There's also this other shot from the first Iron Man of the encased arc reactor that Pepper gave Tony, a joke about his Tin Man heartlessness. Pepper's gift would go on to save Tony's life after Obadiah Stane paralyzed him and yanked out his second box of scraps from out of his chest. Tony's voiceover here says, "I know we said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one." He's recalling the moment with Pepper in the beginning of Infinity War.
And we should have no more surprises, ever. I should promise you.
Yes.
I will.
Now before I move on, we see this shot of Stark gazing out through the cockpit of the Benatar. The shot was in the first trailer as well, but some details have been updated. Whatever the cosmic body is that they're facing, previously had a dim pinkish tone. Now it's much brighter with a double blue flare, so intense, reflecting off the hull of the ship. Only Stark remains in that pinkish light. Now maybe this means nothing. Trailers do tend to play around with the coloring and the lighting to fit the tone of whatever trailer it's in. But this lens flare, to me, indicates that Stark and Nebula are facing something specific. A planet, a star, another ship, someone flying through space to save them. Something, because we do see at the end of this trailer, these two do end up back on Earth. And whatever they're facing could be a step on that process. Let's move on.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best.
Okay, in this section, we're reminded of the origin of Captain America, Steve Rogers, from his first movie at the recruitment center. There's the iconic shot of Steve before receiving super soldier serum, seeing his reflection, not tall enough to line up with this "it could be you" recruitment poster. And I actually just realized that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse totally borrowed this shot. Anyway, there's some other footage that we saw in the Super Bowl trailer. Liberty Island surrounded by boats, perhaps boats that have either washed up from the dusted cruise after the snap, or boats of search party crews looking for missing people out on the open waters. And then a shot of Cap sitting in group therapy, perhaps reflecting how Sam used to run therapy sessions for veterans in Winter Soldier. The voiceover we're hearing is from the character Peggy Carter. This is when Steve met with her in Captain America Winter Soldier.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
If you read into Peggy's words here, because we read into everything, I'm sure this whole idea of going back stands out to you, right? Since many of us have speculated that going back in time could be part of the plot of Endgame. But based off this quote, I don't know, because Peggy says none of us can go back. But she does say to start over, which does imply some kind of reset. And another way that you can reset rather than going back in time could be to hop sideways in an alternate timeline within a multiverse and start over, perhaps the way C-137 Rick and Morty started over by replacing versions of themselves who died. Before I go deeper in this insanity, we see Hawkeye, Clint Barton, at his family farm, where nothing will ever go wrong. He's teaching archery to his daughter, Lila. Maybe they're starting to adapt his daughter into the Kate Bishop storyline, with Hawkeye as a mentor figure looking to pass the torch. Lila is older than we last saw her in Age of Ultron, which makes sense. That was a few years before Infinity War. And you can see his wife Laura at the picnic table in the background, and his son Cooper, who also looks older, and their youngest Nathaniel, who's no longer a baby. But notice Clint's hair. He doesn't yet look like he got a haircut from the barber on Sakaar. We're probably looking at a pre-snap memory before tragedy strikes. Like maybe after this high five, Clint will look at his hand and see dust on it. Dust from Lila's fading hand. And then Clint turns in horror to see Laura and Cooper and Nathaniel fading to piles too. Worst picnic ever. And if you like sad Hawkeye, there's more of it in the next clip.
And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
Okay, in this section, there's Hawkeye in the rain in Tokyo. We saw this in the first trailer. He's turning to face Black Widow. Now, in the past, we've speculated the movie could be adapting the Ronin version of the character from the comics, in which Clint takes on a Japanese lone warrior storyline. The close-up of these two holding hands carries a lot of emotion. And if I'm right about that footage with his family, this could be the first hand that Hawkeye touches affectionately since his daughter's. There's a quick shot of Cap as a pallbearer at Peggy Carter's funeral. We saw that in Captain America Civil War. And then we move on to some flashback shots of Asgard in the first Thor movie, with Thor, after redeeming himself and returning to Asgard at the end of the movie, talking with his father, Odin.
I shall make you proud.
You've already made me proud.
It's fitting that Asgard and Odin appear in these black and white flashbacks, because remember, Thor recently watched both of these things die in Ragnarok. Arguably, it was the absence of Odin and Asgard that opened the door for the final stages of Thanos' conquest. Let's move on.
I saw all these people die.
I keep telling everybody they should move on.
Okay, here we return to the final moments of Infinity War with Thor kicking himself after not going for Thanos' head. He talks about seeing Falcon, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, and Bucky fading into dust in Wakanda. Now, it's interesting to rewatch this whole death montage because you can see little variations in the way each Avenger lets go. Like Wanda throws her head back and gives in to the inevitable because you could say her soul already kind of died with Vision. Whereas with Falcon, Anthony Mackie said the Russos side coached him with some choice words to get the reaction they needed.
We were on set and I'm laying down in the mud and it's cold, and the director goes, the Russo brothers are like, you're disintegrating. To think about you're leaving Earth. What would you say? And I'm like, Cap? dust.
Leaving Earth could imply a transference to some other realm for the snap victims, like the quantum realm, or maybe that soul dimension that Gamora went to, as opposed to just like pure oblivion. I dig deeper into this in another video, go check that out. There's actually one more interesting change that they made to this footage that I want to point out, but first, I want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is an affordable online private service that connects you with a personalized therapist or counselor. Look, I know fans like to joke about feeling super depressed while watching the deaths of Infinity War, but life, like real life, can really build up on you sometimes. Like, I know stress has gotten the best of me in my job, and that's why a service like BetterHelp was super helpful for me when I tried it out. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed professional counselor, caring professionals specializing in the issues you want to talk about. You can get help on your own time and at your own convenience with secure video chats or text chats, phone sessions, whichever option is easiest for you. And you can start talking with someone who's right for you in under 24 hours in a process that's hassle-free and affordable. Now, to be clear, this is proactive mental health. It's not a crisis line, and I'm not pushing therapy on you if you don't think it's right for you. BetterHelp has actually been really good about listening to user feedback and making necessary updates. But if you're 18 years or older and if you want to give this a try, you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/newrockstars. Or go to their website, and when you log in, use our discount code NEWROCKSTARS. Okay, back to this footage from Infinity War. Notice how the color grading rendered Cap's gloves to be red, despite the fact that in the original movie, they weren't red. They were actually brown. They didn't just highlight the red that was in the original footage, they changed the color. In a way, this suggests Cap's guilt over this loss. The blood on his hands. Now in this footage, Cap says he keeps telling everyone to move on, so let's do that.
Some do, but not us.
Even if there's a small chance, we owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
In this clip, Cap chats with Natasha about his refusal to move on. And notice Natasha's hair. It's longer, and that blonde color has grown out almost with her natural red retaking. Black Widow's hair changes throughout the footage we've seen for Endgame. She's had the shorter blonde hair that she had in Infinity War, and she also has this hot mess tied in a neat braid. I think all of this is to show a passage of time, and maybe several stages of the Avengers comeback against Thanos that aren't part of one big smart mission. Like, it appears that when Carol Danvers comes back, it's not like you're gonna spring into the final conflict. This is gonna happen in phases. There's also a quick shot of Ruffalo doing his best not to spoil the ending of the movie, but look behind Bruce Banner here. There's a weapon leaning against the wall. Some have described it as Corvus Glaive's glaive, or perhaps Loki's scepter, but I'm pretty sure this is Clint's new bow, confirming the presence of Clint Barton in this scene. Then there's this shot of Scott Lang looking very confused as he passes a pole that's plastered with missing posters. One of them says Tony P. Henderson, which from what I can tell is not connected to Marvel in any way, but I'm sure Tony P. Henderson will be instrumental to defeating Thanos. This whole neighborhood is very Walking Dead first episode post-apocalyptic. Weeds overtaking the lawn, and a driveway and moped covered in leaves and people dust, probably. It's a shame that it looks like Scott's gonna be driving his security company van, because I would have loved to see Scott ride up on that thing to greet the others the way Bruce Banner rolled up in the first Avengers. Another post-apocalyptic reference point that I brought up before is the HBO series The Leftovers, which deals with the aftermath of a Rapture-style event with 2% of the world's population having vanished. One of the interesting consequences of that world is the fact that when some people went poof, their dogs went nuts, and it caused all those dogs to find other dogs and form these roaming packs throughout neighborhoods to attack people. And notice here behind Scott on that porch, that looks like a dog, so Scott should watch out. Or maybe it's a dog statue, but he should still watch out, because behind that statue, hiding very still in plain sight, is Drax. I know it looks like nothing, but the guy's pretty sneaky. I also like how the editing syncs Black Widow saying even if there's a small chance, or the shot of Ant-Man, could be a hint that their mission involves his technology. More on that in a bit. We also see a shot of the new Quinjet as it arrives over Tokyo. I was wondering what city that was, but that is Tokyo's Rainbow Bridge there. And notice how about half of the buildings in the city appear to have their lights off. So like New York, every world city is feeling the pain of half its people dusting away. Now this is probably the scene where Black Widow's going looking for Hawkeye. And we do see them in the next shot on board a ship, but this isn't the Quinjet. This is actually the Guardian ship, the Benatar. So this looks like some confirmation that the way Tony Stark and Nebula will return to Earth is on board the Benatar. Recently, footage from Endgame was shown to Disney shareholders at a closed meeting, because Disney shareholders are richer and better people than us, and they're taking over the world. And some of it included several of these characters on board the ship, with Rocket piloting, warning them all against puking on his ship, and Captain Marvel was sitting shotgun in this footage. Perhaps all these characters are on their way to Titan II, the planet Thanos settled on, and they're intending to confront him. Let's move on to the next clip.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Okay, here we see Hawkeye running down this tunnel with red lights as an explosion rips through it. This looks like the same location that we saw him in the Super Bowl trailer with the same red light. Notice this flashlight on his wrist. In the later shot, you can see that he rigged it so that he can aim the light in the direction that he has his arrow knocked in. Kind of like a mounted light on a gun. Very cool. And then we see my favorite pairing of this trailer, Rocket and War Machine. Rocket, as I pointed out in the Super Bowl trailer breakdown, wears a new suit. This is the blue jumpsuit that he wears in the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. But also, Rhodey's rocking a new suit. This armor is way bulkier, even more than the War Machine armor that he has on when he suits up beside Scott in that other footage. We could be looking at the rumored War Destroyer armor that I've heard about, or maybe the War Machine Buster armor that appeared in Lego form. There are also some shots of Cap and Hawkeye at Avengers HQ. And then look at this frame with Scott here. Behind him on that lamp and the light on the awning outside, some other light source behind the column, it all begins to glow brighter and brighter. You can actually see some of that glow starting to reflect from Scott's shoulder. Where is this light coming from? Maybe Scott's looking at Carol Danvers glowing as she starts to go binary, and it's like triggering other appliances. Could be Thor returning and doing the same thing. Or maybe we're looking at Avengers HQ under attack from some threat, which is why they would have to suit up. And then we see this interesting shot of Thor. He's bearing Stormbreaker as electricity shoots off him. It looks awesome. Maybe it's just me, but doesn't this look a lot like his arrival in Wakanda in Avengers Infinity War? Like Stormbreaker here looks especially supercharged the exact same way it was in that battle. Of course, the angle is different and Thor's expression has changed. Like notice how he looks down at Stormbreaker, a bit unsure of himself, almost like, how did I get here? Maybe what we're looking at is Thor reliving this memory of the Battle of Wakanda, a different form of time travel or alternate timeline hopping, in which the Avengers can, in Peggy Carter's words, start over and replay past fights, but this time make different choices. In Thor's case, I can't imagine a redo he'd want more than this battle, where this time he could aim for the head. Maybe something similar is going on with Nebula in this next shot. That's hard to tell where she is, but all that smoky rubble looks a lot like the ruins of Titan after she crashed her ship into Thanos and confronted him. Titan was definitely a lot redder in color, and she does have two batons here, not one. But still, could we be seeing Nebula reliving this moment, where this time maybe she would decide not to tell Peter Quill that Thanos killed Gamora, and she would try to prevent Quill from hitting Thanos in the face and breaking him out of his trance so that they could get the gauntlet off him. There is a rumor that Tony Stark's barf memory technology could play a role in Endgame. Maybe all the Avengers could be reflecting back on past memories like this, battles that felt like 1,000 years ago, with them able to somehow displace their consciousnesses to past moments and make new choices in those moments. Just try to pretend like that isn't totally insane as we move on to the next clip.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
In this section, Natasha almost raged on the firing range of Avengers HQ, somehow hearing the trailer music in her head and firing the gun perfectly in sync with the rhythm. And then we get more of this shot of Cap tightening the straps of his shield, this being the first time he gets it back since dueling with Tony Stark in Civil War, along with this close-up of his dirty face but perfectly white teeth. Cap is wearing his previous generation suit before the darker, maskless version that he wore in Infinity War. This could be more evidence that these Avengers will in some way have to return to past versions of themselves. It looks like Cap is on the same battlefield that Rocket and War Machine are on and that Nebula's on. The smoke and the color temperature of these three shots all match. That horizon line behind Cap looks vaguely similar to the hills that surround Thanos' farmhouse on Titan II. And there's something purple behind Cap. Real question is, how thick is it? Maybe the Avengers hunted Thanos down to his new home, lit the place up. Oh, my corn. But even if they do, I just doubt that this would be enough to fix anything. Like maybe the Avengers will make a brave effort to avenge in the opening act of the movie, but fail again, requiring them to violate the laws of physics in some crazy way to undo the snap. But next we get this awesome shot of Ant-Man shrunken down, pole vaulting with his pencil, passing a headphone jack, and what looks like a roll of tape, and a huge deluge of water. Now, it's a bit hard to tell where he is, but I think Scott could be on the desk in Avengers HQ in that shot of him and Rhodey. These are all just supplies that would be on that desk, and that water could be pouring out of one of those mugs as it tips over. But there's a lot of crazy crap going on here. Again, we could be looking at some attack on Avengers HQ. Perhaps whatever efforts the Avengers made against Thanos will lead Thanos to striking back at them at home. But the next section contains the biggest bombshells of the trailer, so let's watch it. Okay, so here we see the Avengers walking through HQ, including Tony Stark and Nebula, return safely from Titan. They join Cap and Scott and Hawkeye, Rhodey and Natasha. Big thing to point out here, they're all wearing this new white-colored armor. Now, we have seen this armor teased in toys and merchandise for the movie and concept art, and some people are describing it as quantum armor, maybe because it resembles the quantum suit that Hank Pym wore when he ventured down into the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Notice how Rhodey's armor is larger and bulkier. Whatever tech they're wearing must have been applied to his War Machine armor. Meanwhile, Stark has sleek nanotech armor that probably would just work underneath the suit. But there's definitely a good chance that this armor is quantum realm connected, because we know the quantum realm will play some important role in Endgame. Tom Holland said that Benedict Cumberbatch would have to mention quantum realm in a lot of his lines in Endgame. And Ant-Man and the Wasp teased the existence of time vortexes and the possibility of phase shifting into parallel realities in the quantum level. So I am assuming that the Avengers are wearing these suits as they set off to explore this kind of quantum insanity. And maybe in a way that taps into their memories as a form of timeline meddling. Because another detail to point out here, the color scheme of these suits is black and white and red, not all over, just a little under. That matches the color scheme of those past footage clips throughout this trailer. Now, some of you are looking at these shots and saying, hey, we got proof that it was actually Stark and Nebula who were digitally erased from that earlier group march shot in the past trailer. But I don't think so. That shot also contained Thor, and Natasha's hair was shorter in it. I just don't think we can put these two marches side by side and say they're definitely the same moment. Like, we also can't see Thor or Banner/Hulk or Captain Marvel or Rocket in any of these frames. Maybe they're out of frame, or maybe they're on a side mission. And again, it's just hard to take all of this footage that literally, because this could end up being like that group jogging shot in the trailer for Infinity War that got used as a basis for a ton of theories that ended up being not in the final movie at all. Marvel has the power to de-age Samuel L. Jackson. They can deepfake everything. So let's move on to the final clip.
I like this one.
Okay, as we learned in the post-credits scene for Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers does join up with the Avengers in HQ, not long after the snap. Though it looks like here she's definitely changed out of that new upgraded suit of hers. I love how she does not flinch at all when Thor summons Stormbreaker, whizzes past her. Really all that happens is her hair just waves a bit, and she's still not afraid to stare him down, kind of like, if you try that again, we're gonna have issues. And as we've seen with Hulk and with Valkyrie, Thor's best friends are always the ones who can beat the crap out of him. So my question for you is, which pairing are you most excited to see in Endgame? Rocket and War Machine? Hawkeye and Black Widow? Thor and Captain Marvel? Or Stark and Cap? It's about time these two talked again. Comment down below with your thoughts, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at EA Voss, and subscribe to this channel for more Marvel breakdowns and theories. And if you happen to live in the LA area, come check out my live nerdy comedy show, Darkest Timeline. It's every first Friday of the month at the Acme Theater in North Hollywood. Our next show's on April 5th. We got some surprise guests. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you for watching, and the Avengers can chant whatever it takes as much as they want, but we know what it's gonna take to beat Thanos. A flirkin'. Just put Goose in front of Thanos and he'll lose a lot more than an eye.